Sumisola stared at the letter in her hands, shocked beyond words. 6 months into her job, and she was being transferred. I don't understand. Neither do I. You are the first person in the history of this company to be transferred to the group headquarters within 6 months of working with any of our subsidiaries. I'm surprised too. She stared at the letter again to make sure there were no mistakes. There weren't. She was expected to resume at the office by Monday, leaving her 4 days to prepare herself and clear her desk. Congratulations, Paul said, making her look at him. Thank you, but isn't there anything you can do so that I can remain here? I mean, I'm just getting settled here. Honestly, I don't want you to leave. You're doing a good job, and I did all I could, but the big boss's orders were stringent, and in this company, his word is law. Sumi almost groaned out loud, but caught herself in time. She shut her eyes, fighting off the waves of fear and panic that wanted to seize her. The big boss had ordered a transfer. The thought held no comfort at all. God, please help me. She murmured through dry lips, her eyes fluttering open at the sound of Paul's voice. Are you all right? He inquired, concern creasing his brows. I'm fine. You surprised me. A lot of people would jump at the offer, yet you act like you're being sent to a war zone, he stated, baffled at her reaction. Maybe I am, she murmured to herself. I'm just shocked, that's all, she said, and excused herself, knowing that as much as she dreaded the transfer, she could trust God for the best. However, leaving Oriofe Michael was the hardest part of the move. As difficult as the separation was for her 8-year-old son took it in stride. And Mary, the only friend she had, was as usual, very supportive. Make sure you're a good boy, she said as she knelt in front of him to give last-minute instructions. I will, Mom. If you need anything, just ask Auntie Mary. Okay. And remember to read well for your common entrance examinations. I will. God will help you, she prayed as she heard her flight being announced. Are you sure you'll be fine? She inquired anxiously. A small smile curved his lips as he replied. I'll be fine, Mom. Auntie Mary is with me, so stop worrying, he said with a glance in the other lady's direction. You worry too much. Do I? She asked, smiling as she stared at him with all the love she felt, not for the first time wondering how he came to be so intelligent, confident, and sensitive than most kids his age. Yes, you do. We will be fine. Just call when you get to Abuja. I will, she said, managing to control her tears. He definitely was handling this better than she was. I love you. I love you too, Mom, he returned, giving her a bear hug. She heard another announcement just as she hugged her friend. Take care of both of you for me. I will. You take care of yourself, and God be with you. Amen. I need that prayer more than anything else. An understanding passed between the two women as they stared at each other. And Mary squeezed her friend's hand as if passing strength to her. Sumi held on a bit longer, then released her hold as she heard another announcement. Kissing her son and friend goodbye, she walked to the boarding area, and several minutes later, she was on the plane to Abuja, her thoughts in a jumble, her emotions in an uproar. She knew God had not given her the spirit of fear, but still, she was scared. Scared of what was ahead, scared of what would happen when she came face to face with the big boss, a man who loathed and despised the very ground she walked on, not to mention her person. She shut her eyes, willing herself to calm down as she wondered what he would do, what he would say, and how he would act when he saw her. The circumstances surrounding her transfer were unusual, and she had no doubt that he had broken all protocol for a reason. What that reason was, however, she did not want to begin to fathom. She did know she was going to a battlefield where all she'd built and stood for over the past 9 years would be questioned, tested, and tried. She drew in a deep breath, silently asking for divine help. All too soon, the put on your seatbelt sign came on and the plane slowly descended, giving her only a few minutes to catch a glimpse of Abuja from the sky. Immediately she alighted, she moved out of the airport, oblivious of the activities around her. She had been told someone was going to pick her, but she had no idea who. She suddenly stopped in her tracks as the thought occurred to her that it might be the big boss himself. At a loss on what to do if he did come for her, a man approached. Sumisola Koka. She nodded, giving him a curious stare. Good afternoon, Luke Thompson, he introduced, offering his hand. Good afternoon, she returned, taking his hand, relief washing over her. He stared down at her luggage. I hope there isn't any problem with your luggage. Not at all, this is all I came with. That's interesting, he said in a voice akin to awe. You're one of the few women I have seen traveling light, he commented as he helped her with the bigger suitcase and led the way to the car. Opening the trunk, he dropped the luggage inside and moved to get the door for her. Thank you, she said as he closed the door and turned around to the driver's side. How did you know I was the one? I read your file, he supplied, putting the key in the ignition. You work in HR? He smiled more at the conclusion than the obvious question. No, I work in the same department as you. Let's just say I was curious about the lady who could get promoted within 6 months of working with this company, and not just to another subsidiary, but to headquarters. It took me 1.5 years to achieve that, and people tell me I'm lucky. You must be luckier. Sumi stared at him, trying to gauge his feelings towards her. She detected a note of envy in his words, but other than that, he gave nothing away. Does everyone have the same opinion as you? Luke took his eyes off the road momentarily to glance at her. He had to admit, she looked more beautiful in person than in picture. She was dressed in a V-neck grey-colored top and a knee-length black skirt with a big black belt around her waist. To his eye, the belt wasn't necessary since her outfit molded to her body, flattering her shape. But the effect could not be undermined, as rotated a slim waistline. Her hair was packed into a tight bun at the nape of her neck, bringing the feature of her face into focus. Big eyeballs, nicely curved brows, a slightly pointed nose, and full luscious lips. He turned his eyes back to the road, his gaze registering all this in a glance. Something about the way she spoke made him ask, "And what do you think my opinion of you is?" "You don't think I deserve the promotion?" He smiled, and Sumi could not help but notice how hard features transformed into soft ones. "On the contrary, I think you deserve it. The publicity and marketing strategies you came up with in Baseline Pharmaceuticals not only generated more income, but gave rise to a customer-friendly company that is fast expanding. It would be a privilege to work with you." She studied him, wondering if he was mocking her, but found no trace of such. "Thank you," she said humbly. "You're welcome," he returned, and they both fell silent while Sumi stared out the window, taking in the landscape and settlement as they made their way into town. She thought of engaging him further, but held her tongue, and instead concentrated on the scenery until they arrived at their destination. "Here we are," he announced as he pulled the car to a stop. Sumi alighted, taking in a plush and neat environment. The first thing she noticed was that the houses were all bungalows, painted in the same color of brown and peach and designed in the same pattern. There was a walkway that led to the front door with beautifully tended flowers flanking the path on both sides. "Where is this?" she inquired as Luke lifted her suitcases from the trunk. "Okay, Agbe Close, Garki 2. "It's beautiful." "It is, and so are a lot of other places in Abuja. Have you been here before?" "No." "Then I'll be your tour guide." "If you don't mind?" he said with a disarming smile as he produced the key from his pocket. As they walked in, she noticed the garage to her left and a good parking space to her right for visitors. She was quite overwhelmed when she walked into a well-furnished apartment, her eyes appreciating the quality of furniture and the interior, which was done in shades of white and lilac. She put her laptop bag on the reading table that was carved somewhere between the dining and sitting room without being intrusive or obstructive, then picked the receiver of the phone to check if it had a dial tone. It did. "Is it working?" Luke asked, staring at her. "Yes, it is. Do you have the number?" "No, I don't. You'll have to ask Sisi." "Sisi?" she queried. "Who's Sisi?" "Big Boss's secretary." "Is that what you call him here too?" "That's what it's called everywhere." "Is Sisi, if I may ask, a name?" "No," he answered with a smile. "Her name is Yetunde Edwards, but we fondly call her that behind her back." "Oh, I see," she said, returning the smile as her eyes caught the note placed under the phone box. She picked it and read the 2 words that were boldly written on it by no other person than the big boss himself. A lifetime between them, and she still recognized the handwriting. "Be comfortable." "It's definitely comfortable," she mused out loud. "Yes, very. Luke rejoined, thinking the comment was directed at him. I'll show you around the rest of the house, and if you're feeling up to it, we could go out for lunch. I'd like that very much, she replied, realizing she was hungry. She had been too tense to eat anything since morning. But I'd really like to know how I'm going to get to the office on Monday. I'll pick you up. I hope it won't be too much trouble for you. I definitely don't want to inconvenience you. I stay down the street, so it's no trouble at all. I'm relieved, she said sincerely. Out of curiosity, she asked, do most staff stay here? No, there's just both of us and Sisi. Okay, she muttered, absorbing the information. Any more questions? He inquired amiably. None, she replied with a smile. I think I'll just see the rest of the house and go for that lunch. This way then, he said, guiding her. A month and few days had passed since she resumed at Baseline International, and she was enjoying the dynamics and challenges that came with her new job. Currently, negotiations are ongoing about adding another subsidiary, Baseline Motors, to the conglomerate. They'd hosted their Japanese contacts and things had gone better and smoother than expected. All that was needed was the big boss's approval. But since he wasn't around and had not been since she resumed, they could not proceed further. Now, he was back, and he had summoned her. Sumi wiped her suddenly wet palms on the skirt of her dark paint-striped suit as apprehension seized her. She knew fear in its raw form as she walked along the corridor of the floor that held the office of the group CEO of Baseline International. With a conscious effort, she strode to his door, drew in a deep breath, and raised her hand to knock when a voice interrupted her. What do you think you're doing? She whirled around to meet the stony face of Yetunde Edwards. He sent for me, and you didn't think he should ask if he can see you now or not? She asked in a derogatory tone. I didn't see anyone around I could ask, Sumi replied swiftly, her voice biting. That's because some of us are busy doing our jobs instead of loitering around people's offices, she retorted. Sumi pursed her lips, stopping the flow of words that quickly rose to her mouth, and not for the first time wondering why Yetunde disliked her, something she'd made very obvious from the day of her resumption. Can I go in now? She asked instead, trying to keep her voice even. No, she answered blatantly, eyeballing her. I'll have to check with him to know if he wants to see you now, she retorted, then crossed over to her desk, went about arranging it, then picked a file she took in without even bothering to knock. Sumi stood patiently, the meaning of the other woman's action not lost on her. She had a lot on her plate rather than to bother her head with Yetunde's unnecessary territorial display. Can I go in now? She asked when Yetunde finally emerged. He's busy. You can wait if you don't have anything better to do. Tell him to send for me when he's less busy, she said, and turned in the direction of the stairs instead of taking the elevator, not bothering to wait for a response. She needed to walk off her anger and irritation. On getting to her office, she found Luke where she'd left him and walked round to his corner, knowing he could not hear her through the thick pane of glass that separated them. What are you doing? She asked from the doorway. I'm working on the guest list for BLI Motors exhibition, he answered, glancing at her. She chuckled. Why count your eggs before they hatch? The contract has not even been signed yet. It will be, he said with confidence. Big boss is eager to have it off his table. Have you gone to see him? Yes, I know, she answered, walking in. I was fended off by his ego secretary on the excuse that he's busy, she explained as she rested her butt on the desk, her back to the door. I think she considers me a threat. Why do? I have no idea. Sisi fends off every lady from the big boss, especially those who are more beautiful than she is, he stated, grinning. Just ignore her. That should not be hard to do. Our paths hardly crossed, she returned, taking a look at the system. So, how far have you gone with your list? It's getting more robust, he said casually, leaning back in his chair so he can have a proper view of her. Been thinking about what our marketing edge would be considering the competition out there, and I was thinking you could help me with that. And what do I get for consultation? She asked jokingly. We will both get paid at the end of the month, he replied, smiling. She shook her head. Not from the company. From you. Would a nightcap in his house be okay? A voice said from behind her, and reflexively, she spun around to put a face to it. Luke, who had also been caught off guard, quickly regained his composure and found his tongue after getting over the initial shock of seeing his boss in his office. Good afternoon, sir, he greeted, already on his feet. Good afternoon, sir, Simi retreated, lowering her gaze to avoid eye contact. Michael Anuoluwapo Orebi, Chief Executive Officer of Baseline International Group of Companies, stared at the woman before him. and he had to admit she looked the part of the executive in her skirt suit. Yet, he could not marry her to the girl he'd known, even though the features had not changed much. He experienced a myriad of emotions as he stared at her from the doorway. Sumi locked her hands behind her as she stood, trying not to fidget under his unrelenting gaze. She wondered what thoughts were running through his mind as he did his appraisal, and unable to help herself, needing to know, she raised her eyes to his face, hoping for a clue. There was none. His face was devoid of emotion as he held her gaze, yet the tension was palpable. She studied his features and concluded he hadn't changed much. He still had the same gait, was just as tall as she remembered, and still had that presence that seemed to swallow up everyone else when he was in a room. She lowered her eyes when he would not stop staring, and thankfully, Luke broke the silence by clearing his throat slightly. The action turned Michael loose from whatever spell held him bound. "Miss Coker, I sent for you, or didn't you get my message?" "I did, but you deliberately refused to obey orders?" he asked, his eyebrows arched in a frown. "No, sir. Meet me in my office now." "Yes, sir," she answered dutifully and watched him walk away. "Well?" Luke prompted, making her look at him. "Well, what? Get moving. You have some explaining to do. I'm sure you will understand." Sumi smiled wryly as she stepped out, knowing an explanation wasn't going to settle things, not between her and Michael. Ushered quickly and without delay into a spacious office that was simply but richly decorated, her shoes sank into the soft plush oriental rug that was remedy for sore feet, while her eyes moved to the paintings that lined the wall. To her right were luxurious and supple sofas that made her want to curl up and feel their softness just by staring at them. And attached to the wall was a large TV that wasn't receiving attention from him, even though it was on. Her eyes moved to the small refrigerator that was almost negligible in the vastness of the room, and to her left was a door she thought probably led to the bathroom but could not be sure since it was shut. A stylishly built shelf that held books of different kinds stood to his side, imposing in its size, and potted plants were seated at various spots in the room. His table was positioned in the middle, a fine piece of wood made from mahogany on which sat a pen holder, a few books, a couple of files, 2 extension lines, his mobile phones, a desktop system, and a laptop, which currently held his attention. Behind his bent head on the wall stood a large picture frame of his father in his earlier years, his gaze as he stared at the camera, imposing and compelling. She stared at it for a while, seeing the similarity between father and son. She then tore her gaze away from the picture to stare at the man in front of her. "You asked me to see you," she said, trying to get his attention. He had not even acknowledged her, and she wanted to get the meeting over and done with. "Sit down," he commanded without looking at her. Sumi studied his well-cut hair as she wondered what it was he was doing that required his attention so much. She glanced at the chair and decided against sitting. For some reason, she felt sitting down would put her at a disadvantage, and she didn't want that. "I'm comfortable this way, thank you." That was a mistake. Michael raised his head to look at her. "I asked you to sit, and you refuse, yet you sit so comfortably with a man you knew over a month ago and discuss how to have a nightcap in his house?" He asked with mock sarcasm. "Luke is a colleague and a friend, and it was your suggestion that I have a nightcap with him, not mine, not his. It's the typical thing you would do," he said bluntly, his gaze on her. She returned his stare unflinching, not bothering to dignify him with a response. What he thought of her was of no consequence, and she couldn't blame him for having such a low opinion of her. She kept her mouth shut and waited for him to speak. It was his call, not hers. "You seem to have made everyone fall in love with you," he said conversationally as he leaned back in his chair. "Everyone is singing your praise like you're some kind of saint," he continued, calling the last word with a hint of disdain. She doubted Yetunde was taken in by her, but said nothing while he continued to address her. "So, you've been waving your magic wand around, huh?" "There's no wand anywhere. What people see is the glory of God in my life, and they appreciate it." "Amazing!" he said as he got to his feet and casually sat down on his table. "When did you become a pastor?" he mocked. I don't have to be a pastor to know the promises of God for me and to experience their manifestation in my life. It is enough that I am a co-inheritor with his son. His laugh was without mirth. Wonders will never end. If I didn't know better, you would have me fooled. She shrugged her shoulders as she watched him fiddle with the pen holder and wasn't surprised when he changed the topic again. That was the only predictable thing about him, his unpredictability. Do you like your apartment? Yes, I do. You saw my note? Yes, I did. I'm sure you're enjoying Abuja with all the fun you're having with Luke. I hear he's been taking you around town. Until I can afford my own car and find my way around. Yes, he has. Do you have the hots for him? They were back on dangerous ground, and as casual as it made the question sound, she knew it wasn't. Why would you think that? You called him your friend, and I know you never call anyone your friend unless there's something you can get from them. She smiled genuinely. You'd be surprised that I make friends now as easily as I made enemies then. Michael stared at her, taken in by the way the smile brightened her face, but only for a moment. He soon moved to stand about 3 feet away from her, his voice dripping ice. You have a nerve showing up here. Sumi swallowed in fear, taken aback at the way it switched again, but she refrained from taking a step back at the face of his disdain, holding her ground. I wasn't given a choice, she muttered, finding her voice. The order was clear, and it was signed by you. You know better than to take a job at any of the subsidiaries of BLI. My orders were clear 9 years ago. She stared at the impassive look on his face, the memory of the humiliation she'd experienced on the hand of his security officers coming afresh in her mind. Her gaze was challenging as she tossed her words back at him. I needed the job. And if my presence disturbs you, why did you sign my transfer? You should have left me where I was. But then again, it's not too late. You only have to say the word and I'm on the next flight back to Lagos. Or you could hand it here and now and just fire me. No one will question you. He gave her a leveled gaze. You can be sure I've considered all my options. And if you're here, it's because this is where I want you to be. He said and turned to pick the intercom as it rang.